Hello everyone, and welcome back to some Elden Ring. This time I've got some solo Tanner's Tongue through New Game Plus Landell, and I think it's very fitting for a topic that I'm going to be chatting about today. So recently I saw a video by DemiFiend chatting about whether or not Elden Ring broke the PvP community in Souls-likes, and it was a really nice discussion, and I thought that I I've been tossing the idea around of talking about how I ended up becoming an invader and a PvP player across the different games, and specifically a little bit about some of the challenges of trying and honestly I think ultimately failing to be a part of the PvP community. While joining up and trying to take PvP more seriously in Elden Ring. Yeah, you heard that right. I think I've failed to join the PvP community and that I'm not really a part of it. Um, there are quite a few people who I really appreciate that I can share invasion moments with, and we can talk about highlights, share stories, and talk shop, and I really appreciate it. But still feel like I am, you know, either at odds or generally not welcome, according to like the general online consensus. And I think part of that is the general animosity towards new players. It seems that from reading comments, it almost seems like with every new installation from Dark Souls to Dark Souls 2 to Dark Souls 3 and eventually Elden Ring, that every new installment, the new players that joined up, ruined PvP. Um, and so Elden Ring, like from the combination of the damage scaling, and typically either in having to invade into groups, or and also with the poor overleveled phantom downscaling, like it's already a pretty hard barrier of entry to learn invasions in Elden Ring, and it made it honestly even harder that I also felt like I was having to fight with the PvP community to have the right to have fun with these games. Um, so, yeah. Now, this might just be a chip on my shoulder from real life, but I don't think it's an unreasonable chip on my shoulder, and other people could be feeling the same way, in that regards of just being unwelcome. Because part of it is there are some players that just feel unwelcome in real life. I think I've shared before on the channel, but not recently. I had a couple cousins pass away a couple years ago. Drunk driver hit them and quite a lot of other members of the family. And the service was great, but unfortunately I had the displeasure of, well, I'm glad that I attended my cousin's funeral there, but one of my cousins had a funeral at a 242 church. Now, if you aren't familiar, um, they are a Christian church that has that is very openly anti-LGBTQ plus, and well, I did not feel very welcome there. Made very clear by seeing a pickup truck with a bunch of hate speech plastered all over it, and I still had to suck it up and well, just go try and grieve my cousin, knowing that I was not welcome, and stuff like that. Well, like, you can feel when you're not welcome. And honestly, stuff like that bleeds over into games, and giving a blanket statement that all new players suck and are the problem, regardless of their attitude, how they conduct themselves, or whether or not they want to try, learn, and play, and just say that, well, all of them are the problem, not us, clearly, the ones with our hands on the steering wheel. Well, kind of gets me a little bit irritated. And so, yeah. And I don't blame my family. the church, they needed a church that size because my cousin who passed was a firefighter paramedic, and they honestly needed a church that size because the entire city fire department was in attendance, and they held it for free and for servicemen. And I don't hold his spouse of 3 months of holding it there because she was in a wheelchair recovering because she was also hit by it. So hit by the drunk driver. So yeah, there's no animosity towards my family, but boy did they sure know how to make me feel unwelcome. And so I guess with that being said, we know that there's a uh, again, pretty large chip on my shoulder already of like I want to, eventually I wanted to learn and do better and be a part of it. So where did everything start? Honestly, the first ever invasion or when I was invaded, was in Dark Souls 3, back shortly after release, before any of the DLC. I was invaded by someone who honor dueled me, poured out all of their flasks, and then I copied them and then promptly got my butt handed to me. I was wielding our store's spear and the shield, and they kicked my butt. And that was my first taste of PvP, and I thought it was a really cool part of the games and that the community was looking for good fights. However, because that was like, I don't know, like 9-ish years ago, maybe 10, I didn't necessarily wasn't thinking of, oh, maybe I should look things up online, figure out like, oh, I should stop leveling so that way I can be at meta and find everybody. So and I also wasn't in the perfect headspace of just learning and trying to figure out what went wrong, and I just saw that invaders were killing me, or invaders and hosts were killing me, and I wasn't able to kill them, and I was frustrated, and I wasn't really dissecting, like what I could do to be a better player. So after the whatever PSN subscription came up, I was out of the PvP community until we came back to Elden Ring around patch 1.05. First playthrough of the game, I did entirely offline, not even to see the not even see the messages, and I really appreciated it because I was able to explore the amazing world that is this game. It, it Elden Ring is one of my favorite games, and I love that I was able to do that and just experience it and quietly go exploring. And that is an option everyone has to do, to just play the game quietly by yourself. And again, not knowing the PvP, anything about PvP other than that invasions could happen, I started getting my feet wet in PvP probably around level 300 because I had done like either a New Game Plus playthrough and I was doing some co-op, and started learning about everything from Crab Shack, ganking, and fight clubs over there. And honestly, one of the first videos that I had seen of it, like, yes, it did explain fight clubs, and had like around like probably 1 million views, I think. What the creator said was, in an invasion, just it's whatever the host is doing, whatever they have goes, whether or not it's a gank, anything, whether or not blues are on. And as an invader, you don't owe them anything. Just the thing is to kill the host. It's not honorable. You just go wreck shop. So, yeah. in that sense, and honestly, there wasn't that much else going on around about like PvP etiquette, how to approach it, what level do you do. Like, sure, there's like the one IGN build that was like level 169 or like somewhere, where they were encouraging people to use Bloodflame Blade Fire's Deadly Sin before that was patched. Like, my goodness, what an atrocity. Like, with the huge influx of players in Elden Ring, I absolutely can understand the frustration of, oh yeah, this little clip is just me getting owned in the death room because I just found it funny. But I can understand with the frustrations of effectively, like, view grabbing entertainment stuff of like derailing builds to be either use exploits or just be generally not robust in the game. Like I saw Spiffing Brit like do a cheese for like do a cheese video of like for Comet Azure, and then the tier that gives you infinite FP, and before again a previously patched thing where you could just stand and let boulders fall off a cliff and get a bunch of souls. So like that I don't have necessarily a problem with because it's just very silly entertainment. Like you're playing by yourself, get a bunch of souls and laser bosses. That's just silly. It was not designed to be a foray on how to engage in PvP, but with some of the things like the IGN problematic approach of normalizing exploits, it is very valid to be frustrated at those sources and to basically not have, not directing new people to the right resources on how to make PvP players that are more fun to play with. It's like having a, like, if you're playing like board games and stuff with your family or card games, like, honestly, it's just like, you just want a good attitude. And sometimes it takes a little while to learn that that's the important part of just don't be a jerk, while you're playing. And as a teenager, I was probably not very fun. I was not very fun to play with, and then I went to undergrad and mellowed out. Well, here I am today, and I feel like I'm a much better person to play with because I realized that, well, sometimes you gotta play games that you enjoy. Just trying to win specifically without winning for winning's sake is just kind of boring, and I don't know, just enjoy the fun along the way. But regardless, so I started getting into Elden Ring PvP. If someone has footage of like me and Crabshack ganking or doing like weird fight, like bonfire fight clubs, and just have footage of me kicking my butt, well done, I deserved it. But through all that, I learned about dueling, the etiquette of like, oh, invaders have less flasks. It's not generally a nice thing to you run around and just abuse having more flasks than invaders. I learned seeing people use exploits like the helmet swap glitch sucked, and you could see like there were ganks that used duelists to have Tawner's Tongue active and still have a 3v1 and have one of their players have honestly like different downscaling than the co-op phantoms and be completely immune to enemy aggro. Like I learned, and then I forget which patch it was, when the global search part came around. I was interested enough to like try meta invasions because that's where I knew where a lot of players would be, and I got my butt kicked. It wasn't easy, and part of all of that led to wanting to do some Tawner's Tongue, and just provide good invasions or do a Dark Souls 3 like playthrough when like with Elden Ring, with a game that I really love with a really active player base. Now, in that time when I was doing that, like, I had blues on, I can't remember if I was rune arced or not, ran into some players that were very skilled, not very nice, and basically I was doing the literal Dark Souls 3 one, the PvP that everyone raved about being amazing, and you're just like, no, you're just ganking, even though you're playing the level fighting dudes, because you're not honor dueling everyone, you just, you're just ganking. So I went over to the ERPVP Discord, and, well, it, I was asked, it might have been a bit of a text wall, but I was just asking for advice on, like, what do I do to do a better Taunter's Tongue one that's in line with what the community is trying to do for PvP. First comment I got in seconds was someone just saying, I'm not reading this. And they had different things of like regulars of trusted members of the community, and that person was considered one of the trusted members. And thankfully, one of the moderators was really nice and like was saying, oh, you're just doing your thing, having fun. Like you are aware of the general etiquette. You're just doing a Taunter's Tongue run. Go have fun. Just don't worry about it. And so it was like they came in and kind of saved it, but there was a decent amount of like already things being soured, and also critiques of, there was some, I saw someone asking for a help on how do you avoid the crouch pokes on colossal swords before the nerf, and there's quite a few people just being like, you just crouch poke back, and just like basically someone who is trying to genuinely ask for advice on how to improve. And it seemed like that the community consensus was just don't help them. What a great place to be. So it wasn't long before I got fed up, and also during that time of doing meta level invasions and Taunter's Tongue, there was a plethora, well, not plethora is the wrong word for it, but there were a lot of bigots. It was just really, there's a lot of people with inflammatory and hateful names running around at meta level, and well, they're not really here. There's certainly not as many here, which I appreciate from the current player base. So so I was really discouraged, and I think ended up taking a break for a while, finding some other spots. And kind of when I started invading and doing stuff for YouTube, another creator that I was following was just kind of annoyed with the state of Elden Ring, and I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna do my best to have fun. And then I started doing some off-meta level Taunter's Tongue runs, and I kind of found my own, and that's where I met a really nice community that unfortunately, well, life pulled a few of us in different directions, and I'll leave it at that. But that's kind of where I started experimenting with off meta and doing all sorts of other things. And in the meantime, it just seemed like there was just a general, I don't know, there's a lot of negativity, especially surrounding Elden Ring PvP, and it was just really hard trying to fight being like, this game is awesome, let's have fun with it. Nothing wrong with choosing to play something different. Like, I know a few regular viewers and commenters, they're still playing Dark Souls 1, Demon Souls, and Dark Souls 2. Nothing wrong with going to a favorite to just go kick some butt. Or, heck, for me, going over to Lords of the Fallen, which honestly I think is probably one of one of, if not the most accessible invasion title right now, but that's probably for another video. And now here I am, just still going, and yeah, having a good time making new builds, but there's still, I don't know, even with like from Shadow of the Erd Tree and everything else, there's, even though I've been around for a while, it still seems like that don't feel super welcome, you know? And there's been, looking at it, there are creators and stuff that are trying to do fun things, and I guess a part of it with, I think I'm probably losing track of things right now, but the point is, I think, is that people who joined PvP in Elden Ring, they had a whole lot of negative things to overcome, not just on like all the valid complaints for the host side, but there was a group of the PvP community that didn't want us around. I mean, they didn't seem like they wanted people to participate. They weren't having fun, and they didn't want anyone else to have fun. So it just kind of sucked. And I feel like I never really had that even though I tried, I wanted to be, and clearly I'm pretty competent. I feel like I've gotten pretty darn competent and creative in terms of build making and doing some unique stuff in terms of play style, and frankly I've done some nice entertaining things along the way. And despite all of that, and having made some friends, it feels like community-wise at large, even though I tried, I'm not a part of it. And that sucks. And it's kind of sad. And I think that there are other people who have joined up in Elden Ring that have become invaders, whether or not they had similar starts, or had a different way of entering the PvP scene, that, you know, kind of just feel similar. And that sucks that they also had to deal with that, and it feels like you're having to fight a community to just be a part of it, to just find other people to play with. Well, I know that there's another fight after this one, but hopefully you've all enjoyed the fights. I certainly did. It was a great night at Tanner's Tongue. Like, it was really cool to see everyone with the Vikes cosplay, the Crucible guy, the Radon cosplay. It was an amazing night of PvP, and finding some of the individuals along the way where you just get to see how each of you carries yourself, and there's not like a timer above your head that says, I started playing PvP more seriously at this game. We're having a good time, and regardless on whether or not we're included in the community, well, we're still here having fun. So, I don't know. Hopefully this talk at least made sense. I hope you're doing well, and if you're a fellow invader, happy hunting, and be well. Take care, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.